this video I wanted to talk about the use of steel and paper in order to practice and test yourself. So in my opinion, performing drills and stuff is pretty good for steel. It's almost instant feedback, so it kind of helps you reward yourself, or it's kind of rewarding to hit that steel and get that feedback right away. However, when you're actually testing yourself, paper is a good thing because you don't really get that feedback. And unless you're, watching the target, which you really should be doing, and just basically superimposing your sight, so you should get a little bit of feedback depending on the range that you're at. You might not be able to tell at longer range, but it is a pretty good test. And usually this steel is a good way of proof of concept, where you're not necessarily registering the feedback altogether. It's just in the back of your mind when it rings. And also painting over your steel constantly can be kind of a test before going to paper, so you're still getting a little bit of that feedback, but you're not necessarily running through paper in order to test yourself every time. So in my opinion, before running certain drills, it's probably a good idea to run some tests in order to kind of test, to kind of look at where you're at as far as like certain things that you're actually going to be drilling yourself on. So if you're going to be performing like reloads, or you're trying to increase your speed and ability to put well-aimed shots on target, which should be your priority, is competent hits, then I would test yourself with a couple of courses of fire on paper. And they're not drills like the Bill Wilson. It's commonly referred to as a drill. I call it the Bill Wilson test, because a drill indicates that it's going to be done over and over and over until it becomes second nature. The idea of shooting 6 rounds on target as fast as possible and that's it is kind of a bad idea. Also, things like the hammer pair or the double tap or whatever, where you're shooting 2 rounds and you have one sight picture, that is absolutely asinine. Because people practice that over and over, and the only thing they'll want to do is 2 rounds at a time, when in reality, you shoot until the threat is down, and you need to acquire a good sight picture superimposed on your target. So focusing on your target while superimposing your sights and quickly basically getting, I guess you could say, a flash sight picture on your target is the best thing to practice. And running a couple courses of fire would probably be a good way to test that. So anyways, that's my goal for today. I'm just bringing you guys along to kind of show you my routine. This isn't a suggestion. This is my only suggestion, is that you combine paper with steel, not have one over the other. And this is how I use the steel, just kind of as an idea of how you can use certain instruments in training and practice in order to enhance your skills. So anyways, I'm gonna set this target up with some like cardboard or whatever, and I'm gonna focus on basically a few things. So it'll be like a reload, and also putting as many rounds on target as quickly as I can from the holster. Now a lot of this is gonna be static, so it's not really gonna have any movement, and my goal is to add movement when I'm working on my steel later, but we'll get to that. So let me go ahead and set this up and start my demonstration. I'm just going to be focusing on running my 14 rounds out of my Glock 23 and seeing how fast I can put those shots on target, and I will time myself. In this video, I'm going to be using my Splits app, and this is a very good way of tracking your shots and using your phone as a shot timer instead of spending like $100. This is free, and your smartphone should be able to pick up the shots pretty well. So even with a waterproof case like I have that you can get at Walmart, it still registers the shot. So I'm just going to set that down next to it, and I've set my shot timer to basically have as quick of an initiation beep as possible, and very quick, so it doesn't extend out. That way, number one, I have to listen for it better, and also it doesn't count against my time as much. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I counted all these out. I do have all 14 on here. Now, it was pretty close. I was basically looking for a flash sight picture. I made the mistake of implementing recoil control before actually letting the shot break. That is a problem. Now you will end up jerking the gun back down to get it back on target. That's just kind of an instinctive impulse that you have. So this whole flinch prevention crap is BS. That's what you're going to instantly end up doing. It just happens. So I do have all 14 in this area, so this is a good, alpha, I guess you could say, zone for being, 5 yards away or 7 yards away. I'm about 7. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and run this again, and I'm going to put up a new one. This is just basically an ammo box broken down and extended out. So this is actually my hit zone. So these hits down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This was kind of low because all my shots were pretty much supposed to be aimed in this area. So most of my shots did pretty good. So anyways, let's go ahead and run it again. So you only really want to do this like 2 or 3 times. You don't want to do more than that. You don't want to treat this like a drill. Just keep that in mind. By the way, this was my time, 6.9 seconds. So, about, my splits were 0.4, 0.3 and stuff like that. So it is a pretty accurate shot timer. It's pretty awesome, and it registered all 14. And I accidentally forgot to press the stop button, but it only timed my shots because of how how much it's going to segregate loud noises over me just blabbing my mouth and working the accent and stuff. So there you go. Pretty good little piece of technology that you can just go ahead and download. It's free. Awesome. .19, and it registered all my splits. So you can see there that I actually sped it up at the end there. So yeah, it was kind of slow at first, and then I was just like, okay, I need to hammer these things. I'm getting my sights back on target a lot faster, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So anyways, so you can see here I did really good on keeping everything pretty well centered, and yeah, my pistol did exactly what I needed to do. So I basically put all these rounds where I wanted to. They were pretty well centered. I got my sights where I needed them to go. I did my job. So for going cold and not shooting for a few days, I think I did pretty good. So yeah, you need to practice. You need to make sure that you're testing yourself as well. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to my drills and my practice on steel from here. And basically all that's going to be doing is working on target transition. I'll go ahead and do one demonstration of that, and also it'll test my reloads as well. But reloads are kind of a passive thing. You shouldn't spend too much time on your reloads unless you're in competition, but since reloads are pretty rare, and the concentration should be on instinctive rather than the quickest ever. Of course, speed's going to come with competency, right? So anyways, let's go ahead and get to some of the stuff that I work on. So one of the big things that I like to do is incorporate barriers and use of cover and concealment during my practice. Now this is also something that I actually like to use during testing as well, but didn't do that today because I'm still testing myself and seeing how I can do it cold. I don't want to sit there and waste ammo and effort basically testing myself when I don't actually think that I'll perform all that good, where I actually need more practice before I'm good enough to basically pass my own standards, really. So that was a good start. Probably tomorrow or the next day I'll go ahead and see where I stand as far as like being able to put a bunch of shots on target while leaning, because that can actually disrupt your ability to control the firearm, just based on the ability to control yourself and manipulate your body weight to not be pushed back and still control the recoil as best you can. So that's really going to be the test here. I have my camera sitting pretty low, hence my kneeling. So this is my standing barrier where I'm able to kind of pie around a corner, and I'm going to be working with a silhouette target and about an 8-inch gong. So they're at about 10 yards, 12 yards away. So it's a little bit of a distance, but I have a good C-zone target that can help me discriminate my shots, and I'm going to go ahead and paint over them. But anyways, This is my kneeling barrier, and I have another one that's good for prone. As you can see, the opening right here, it's good for prone, and I only really have a good exposure on my gong because I got trees that I'm actually wanting to grow here on the range and stuff like that. I'm not trying to damage my property all that much, but anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get to work on this after painting up my target so I can see, you know, if I'm actually hitting where I want to, even if it is ringing. I don't like grazing shots. I need to discriminate my fire a little better than that, and so that is a standard I do hold myself to. So anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on this. Okay, so that was a bit piss poor for, you know, my first start. Now, I was actually okay on my center mass hits. I was just a little bit off to the right on my silhouette target, and on my gong, it wasn't too stable. I was just getting those shots off, and that's a mistake. I need to just take that millisecond of time to get my next follow-up shot. It was well into my course of fire on the silhouette target before I moved on to the next one, so that was a mistake. Also, if you notice on that reload, I actually reached for my pocket. That's one of the areas that I will carry a spare magazine, but with these pants, there's actually a spare magazine pocket on the inside of the waistband, and they're specifically for reloads and stuff like that. So in the wintertime, I'll use it for a flashlight on my support side, and on my strong side, I'll use it for my extra reload. So that's one thing to note that I failed on, and we just got to be honest with ourselves. So this was the standing course of fire. I'm going to run this again. So yes, this is something that I could drill, but I need to run this sort of like a course of fire in order to get a little bit of feedback before I have fun and, you know, run drills or whatever. So anyways, let's go ahead and do another run of this. Okay, so that one wasn't as bad. What happened is on some of those lighter dings, or almost no ding, what happened is I have a hanging target that hangs in the center, and I was actually aiming a little bit below the center, but I had a high shot that actually went straight through the center and in through that hole, and it made very little contact. So anyways, it muffled the sound because that's where the you know, the metal contact with the hanger is. So with the gong one, I grazed it, and I think I had a complete miss, so it actually was worse. So one thing that I can do is basically put on like a plate carrier or something and try to stabilize my core and my legs a little better. I don't have a really good excuse for this. My legs have recovered from, you know, my workout, and so there's no reason why I should be so unstable with that. So that was piss poor, and so I didn't have an extra mag for my reload. That was a failure on my part, but because that's one of the things that I'm trying to practice. So anyways, let me go ahead and start with the kneeling as well and see how that is. And I'm going to be working on the left side and the right side, so you may not be able to see me. So anyways, let's get to it. Well, that was pretty much the same results. Not very good. I was actually throwing my shots off a little bit more with the left side because my stability, leaning, was not that good. So again, working on my leaning and my leg muscles, and also isometrics in this position while maintaining a good constant grip and vicing this thing is what I'm going to need to work on. I need to build the muscles that are specifically associated with controlling the pistol, because that was piss poor. I can see where there's 3 points kind of in a triangle motion or a triangle figure on the steel target where it was just outside of where I'm happy with. And even on the C zone, I have one way off to the left. That is absolutely unacceptable. So I'm gonna have to work on this more, but that's pretty much it for this video. I don't want to bore you with more, range action, but the Glock has been doing its job. It's fine. It's just me that's not doing my job. This thing's hitting exactly where the sights are. Basically, point of aim, point of impact is what we got going on with this thing. So I'm pretty happy with these contrast sights as they are, but I actually might upgrade to the Proctor sights. From what I've seen, they actually might be a good idea, the Proctor fiber optics. So they actually might fit the bill as far as, what I would like to see as far as like sights and stuff. So anyways, I hope this was kind of entertaining for you and kind of give you an idea of how you could even practice in a more practical way that you would want to practice if you actually had to use your firearm for defense. So use of covering, concealment, and stuff like that, and practicing core concepts. So anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and you guys have a good one.